Sending special envoys to convey messages of solidarity to several African heads of state and representatives. The envoys have arrived in Nigeria to meet President Muhammadu Buhari. The trip, which includes visits to 6 other African countries, comes amid recent violence in South Africa, which many attribute to xenophobia. For more on this, we're joined by advocate Sipho, Mantula, a researcher at the Institute of Dispute Resolution in Africa. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. Advocate Mantula, what are your thoughts on what will be different about this particular effort? What will be said that hasn't been said in different forums amongst diplomats on this particular issue?
Even to the viewers, I think what is critical, what you are raising, it is to just reaffirm the commitment to the rule of law, because one other issue that has been picked up has been around allegations on the issues around the drug trafficking about African nationals in South Africa. But I think the other important issue is that spirit of solidarity and pan-Africanism in the light of what your insight have just said, that South Africa will be chairing the AU and we are only left with 4 months. So if you look at the critical of this period, it is that you had a visit before of an envoy to South Africa. We have to go back and we have to still even reassure them on the process of the criminal justice system. What will be the efforts that will be undertaken by the criminal justice system? That's where I'm thinking we should look around. But the issue is around the culture of building peace in this region. I think that's one struggling issue that we are having, that if political and economic diplomacy has failed, what is then that we can introduce? And some others are saying maybe it's a time of cultural diplomacy to find its space. It's a time of understanding each other's culture in different forms. And I think within the issue of media, what will be different, it is that compared to 11 years ago, compared to 5 years ago, and many other years where there have been violence against African nationals, one other important issue will be around the role of media and the social media.
Okay, let me just jump in there, Advocate Mantula, because that's an important one. They say part of the mission is to root out the misinformation as a result of fake news. But I'm also thinking on the point that you're making about a need for cultural exchange for us to better know one another as Africans. That then says to me that there needs to be a willingness on both sides. So this is just not only South Africa cap in hand appealing to its neighbors, but they have to find willing participants in rebuilding Africa and the spirit of Pan-Africanism.
That is quite true. You know, what is strange, the theme of the AU this year deals with the issues around the plight and the challenges of refugees. You know, so if you look at Africa where it is today, where we see cases in Libya, where we see cases in Somalia, and we see even our 25 years of audit. I think when we audit our 25 years of freedom, democracy, we actually experienced a movement of African nationals during the crisis in different countries. The conflicts that were in the DRC Congo in 1996, the conflicts that were in Rwanda, Mozambique, Angola. I think we have missed that point of looking at those conflicts. And I can assure you, this week, there is a first forum of cultural exhibition of 12 countries where you will have South Africa side by side with other West Africa countries, East Africa countries, North Africa countries, trying to pick up on this building block of the culture of peace, and as well as promoting the rule of law, because impunity, I think, in some instances has been there. The question of even reparation, because I think, like you said, the envoys are going there to be saying that we are willing to say we want to repair the relations and the damage, but there are some pressure groups that are pushing for reparation at the monetary terms. There are pressure groups that are pushing South Africa to go and apologize. You know, so I don't think in building relations, others must not be in denial of failing to have control other citizens to come to South Africa without proper documentation.
And I need to ask this question, especially on the back of reports that Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has even suggested that the African Union suspend, or in fact the word used was expel South Africa from the African Union. Is it going to be a hard sell that mutual taking mutual responsibility for the situation where we're in, as you say, that there's got to be an acknowledgement from some of these countries that their citizens are not home because they lack a better life.
Correct. I think to correct you on that message, I just pick up a story from the High Commissioner of Rwanda, actually, who said that those were fake news. Actually, President Kagame didn't say that. So again, you see what we have been trapped again, because Paul Kagame, as the then AU chair, was aware of the role of South Africa during the reformation of OAU to AU. Because I think one other aspect that many of the media, they are not aware, South Africa plays a critical role at the AU in the peacekeeping missions of the continent, and that's where it cannot be seen as a coward of being just losing the irreducible culprits that have been seen in different cities, coming under the guise of taxi violence, truck drivers, shop looters. So one can say you have patterns of all this sporadic violence in the country, but you still have to build nation building and social cohesion of the Africa we want and the communities we want, because one aspect that we are missing is the aspect of human security. It seems that politicians, business community are more concerned about of their safety rather than of ordinary people who have been affected by all these tensions that have been going on in the country. And one can say that the economic pressure and economic inequalities in this country caused by apartheid and colonialism in the broader continent has been the key and the cause of this mayhem.
All right, I need to ask a final question, Advocate Mantula. South Africa picking very specific places to start its mission. Obviously, Nigeria, very important. When I see the Republic of Congo, Zambia, Tanzania, and Ghana, including Senegal, amongst those that it's going to travel to, are these strategically chosen?
Correctly. One can say, even look at the messengers who are going. Kingsley Mamabolo might be focusing on some parts of West Africa and Addis Ababa. And then you'll find that Mr. Mbata might focus, Dr. Kulumbata might focus on DRC and Zambia because they're in the SADC region. DRC is very strategic in many sense. Zambia, you had the student protest there and even going to our embassy. And then you find that Ghana, Niger, Nigeria, why are you putting former Minister Jeff Hadebe? He's in the presidency, proximity as well as to the policies of the state, and as well as understanding the issues of development vis-a-vis crime and violence that we are seeing. Because I think that the other issue is to look at the migration policies and how will the AU respond in the 2020 summit and many other extraordinary summits that the AU and the regional bodies will be dealing with.
All right, thank you very much for sharing your insights. Advocate Sipho Mantula is a researcher at the Institute of Dispute Resolution in Africa.